All right. All right. All right. Shalom, everyone. Shalom. Just trying to get this whole thing set up. All right. All right. Shalom, everyone. Shalom, shalom, shalom. So, this is another live stream. Um, and actually, it's working. This is not an ideal location for me because literally, I have to be close to where the internet is. So, it is what it is. But I just wanted to discuss something that had come up for me, and I'm hoping that people can hear it. Um, I want to discuss something that came up for me yesterday, um, and to see how these various cosmic laws and um, like Moses' law kind of play into like practical application, right? Because a lot of people talk about stuff, but it's not in practical application. So, all right. So I was supposed to get on the road yesterday, which obviously I didn't. I'm still in my house, and I was very very upset because I was supposed to be taking somebody somewhere, and instead of telling me that they weren't going to go, they just decided that I wasn't even valuable enough to disclose that they had changed their plans. Because if they change their plans, I need to change my plans. It's not a hard thing. I still have to go up the road, but I want to delay it as much as possible because it's a lot of wear and tear on me going up and down and all of that, which I don't have a problem with it. It's just I want to be as economical as possible when I do it. Let me just make sure my sound is all right. I didn't think about that. Okay. So, needless to say, this made me very upset. And the first thing I thought about was I cannot sin. In my anger, I cannot sin. How do I make sure I don't actually anger the most high with my response because I was very very angry. And so what I did was I employed Judah's method, not his whole method. I went and got something to drink, and I just like puts a lot of distance in between me and this individual. And then I eventually I just went to sleep, and I just didn't say anything. I literally don't think I opened my mouth for the rest of the night. And I just have decided that what is lawful is for me to um is eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That's lawful. That's not committing any kind of sin. So I'm like, okay, this person wants to put this energy out towards me. I'm gonna come at them with the same energy. So no, I'm not discussing any of my plans. What exactly is going on? I'm not discussing. I don't have nothing to say. When I get ready to move, I'm gonna move. And when I'm standing still, I'm standing still, and I'm not asking. Just like I don't ask nobody for help. I'm not asking, if this person needs any help or anything. I'm just not doing anything because that is lawful. If you're not going to do anything, the very minimum, which is, treat me with respect, then I'm going to bring it at the same energy. And so that's how you don't sin when you have a situation. Whatever energy they bring to the table, you can bring the same energy. That's perfectly lawful. Now, what you don't want to do is, again, like it said about if someone breaks into your house, you don't have to kill them. That's unlawful. You want to just respond to them with the same, you can hit them and then let them be on their way. Take back what take what they took and let them be on their way. And you have to. It's just got to be proportional. So you don't want to be like, because what I was worried about with myself was that, like, I would just be like, man, I hate this person so much and I never want to see them again. That would have been unproportional. What's proportional is hey, when I make my moves, I'm moving in silence. All of my moves going to be in silence. Which is not, ideal in this type of situation when you're dealing with somebody, but it is what it is. And see, like, unfortunately for me, I'm dealing with like not a karmic partner, but a divine partner. And so it's like it's only but so far. And I've told the angels this every single time I get a chance. There's only so much I'm willing to deal with. And if divine or not divine, I'm not willing to deal with somebody like this for but so long. You have a very, very short leash with me with this, and I think the leash has already been burnt all the way down to the end. So, there's not. I don't care. I tell them all the time. Look, I don't care if this was the set in the stars, divine partner, all of that. I don't care. I really don't. I'd prefer to be by myself than to be with a divine partner that's like this. And so y'all either gonna have to deal with that or y'all gonna have to understand that I don't care. I don't need a partner at all. I got all the kids I want. I could have more kids, but I got all the ones that I want. I don't really have to. I do. It's unnecessary. And so like there's a other side to this whole divine partnership. If you want to know more about that, Shavi Zane has done a few videos discussing that. Grand Rising, whole divine partnership thing. And it's really annoying because it's like if you don't have your divine partner, you spend your whole life like trying to find that person and this and that. And suddenly, like, you think once you find that person, then everything is going to go easy. No, it's going to go the same way it went with the karmic partners, except now you know that this is the person that these angels pick for you. That's ridiculous. You could just look at them and say, why? Why would you pick somebody for me like this? Why would you put me through this? After all of this of bad relationships, dealing with karma, cleaning stuff out, all of that, you're going to put me back in the same situation with the same type of person, slightly different, slightly, just slightly different than the others, but not different enough for me personally to be like, yeah, I'm just going to wait it out. No, I'm not waiting it out. And I tell it, this is what I mean by putting the angels to work. Literally, I tell my guardian angel all the time, you're gonna have to do something because if this is what y'all want, this is what y'all picked, for me, whoever picked it, you gonna have to fix it because there's nothing I can do. I'm not doing anything else. I've done enough. I've had enough of this. And so, especially when it's a karmic partner, it's like that person is like trash. You know what I mean? Like that they're trash. You know that they're trash for you. You know that there's nothing you could do. But then when you get into your divine partnership and you're like, wow, like this should be better. This should be no problems. I mean, just look at Adam and Eve. They had a lot of problems. A lot of problems. So divine partner does not mean no problems. It just means that you know this is what the problems that your angels think you should go through. I'm not going through this. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Like it's enough to make you say, okay, what is the point of having a divine partnership? If this is what it's going to be like, if this is what y'all going to make me go through, what exactly is the point? What is the benefit towards me? Because right now, all I see is this whole thing of, okay, the first thing that come across my mind, okay, how do I make sure I don't sin? That's number one, because if you're angry, you're automatically going to, man, somebody has to there has to be some retribution for this. And you have to figure out how to tell you. It's the same thing with your kids too. You have to figure out how to say this child is being ridiculous. Now, how do I equally respond to their ridiculousness and not go overboard? And our people are so bad with all of this stuff that you really have to think about it. So like in a partnership that is a divine partnership, you have been told, like me, I did my karma cleanse. And I said, okay, remove this person. They said, no. I'm like, what do you mean, no? This is my karma cleanse. Don't I get a choice? No. No, no, no. That's not how it works. Okay, fix it then. If this is what y'all want, you fix it. I can't do anything. There's no more that I can do to fix this thing. I have done everything that I can do. You're gonna have to fix it. I mean, I literally had them tell me no. Like I asked. I promise I asked. Please take this person. Just take them. It's better for everybody if you just take them. No. What do you mean no? What do you mean no? That's ridiculous. No is not a suitable answer when I'm trying to clear my karma. So now I got to be dealing with somebody else karma that y'all are putting on me because y'all told me no. Y'all gonna have to fix this. And I told them I think this is a bad idea, but this is what y'all say. Fine, y'all gonna have to fix this problem. And now we have a whole nother problem because once you do a karma cleanse, technically you should be going out of your way not to incur more karma. So if the first thing that you do after a karma cleanse is you go out and you get more karma, that's not really a good sign. Like you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be trying to work on it. Like, like me, I did my karma cleanse and this is like the first time I've gotten really upset since then. So my first thing is, you know, thank you. Somebody does. Like please just don't allow me to sin in this. Like I can understand everything else. Like I can understand I need to be upset. I need to delay my trip. All of that. I can do all of that. That's not a problem. But the problem I do have is somebody acting like they are able to say whatever they want to say and it's not even it because what how they say it is irrelevant to me. It's the actual words. If your actual words are I don't have to tell you anything that I plan or don't plan to do. Whoa, wait a second. I asked for you to tell me so that I could make my choice and conduct myself in the proper way and not get angry. I tried to prevent myself from the situation where I would be angry. And a lot of times you may do this with your divine partner. You will try to prevent yourself from the position of getting angry. But if they will not allow you to prevent the anger, then you have to double, triple check, make sure that you don't respond disproportionately. And that, me personally, I have a problem with that in general. I'm a very disproportionate person. And so I asked if I responded proportionally. I asked if I didn't send all of that. And so now you have to deal with the after effects, which is this was some sort of event that happened. And even with your kids, I have a good example with my daughter too. I'll tell in a second. So you have a totally ridiculous situation that has a extreme likelihood of you incurring karmic debt. And so you manage to navigate through it that first day without the karmic debt. But then how do you get through the second day? I mean, I'm not angry. I'm very upset because I don't like first of all, it's hard enough to make plans when you have a bunch of kids around and all of that. Then it's you got to change your plans. You don't have any warning. You just have to everything that you tried to prepare now is just like on hold. People are waiting, for you to do stuff. Like I had appointments and stuff. Everything I just had to push back because it, doesn't make sense to be disproportionate. So I mean, it doesn't make sense to make so many trips. For me, it's already I got to go up there twice in the next week. Plus I got to go down. It's just a lot of traveling. Like it's a lot. And so how do I today make sure that I don't delve back into that anger because it's very very easy to see that. So I have an example with my daughter too. I have a Noga height daughter. Just her father, man, is she really have a lot of his qualities and not the good ones. Just some of the good ones, but most of the bad ones. And one of them is lying. Oh, just I'll send you my number in an email because and then just text me and I'll uh I'll tell you when I'm available because I just spend so much of my day driving around trying not to be upset so about all this stuff. So But I will send you my number so that you can text me. So I told my daughter to clean her room 3 days in a row. I have an older. Uh, okay, great. Uh, yes, it's very necessary. Anyway, I have an older daughter. She's 14, and I have a middle one that's she's 6. And so I had told her to clean her room 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Cause mind you, she's going up the road. You know, I don't like to go out the house with a bunch of messes. So I told her to clean her room. I was like, "You're responsible for getting your room clean." 4 days I gave her to clean her room. Then they come here, they want to do another inspection in this house, which is a whole nother issue. So I went in there I thought it was just going to be like a quick check and, pick up a few things off the floor and let it be over. My Do you know this girl has not cleaned nothing? Every time she told me she was cleaning, she was not cleaning. She couldn't have been. She was doing something, but it wasn't cleaning. They had stuff all under the bed. Not her bed, because I have a bunk bed. It was under my older daughter's bed. All the way in the corner, all the way in the back. I couldn't even reach it. Closet full of stuff everywhere on the floor. Stuff was everywhere on the floor. I was like, I cannot believe this. She literally lied to me every single day for the last 4 days about getting this room clean. Every single day I said, go and clean your room. She's like, oh, it's done. Every single day. And I was like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. I cleaned everything up and I put it in the trash. I put it in the trash bag. I didn't take it to the trash yet, but it's going in the trash. Well, the Goodwill or somebody's going to take it. But I picked everything up and I put it in the trash bag. And I told her she could not watch her tablet. Don't ask me about a tablet. I also told her, don't ask about no dessert or nothing like that, because I usually do dessert. You get an hour or two of tablet time or whatever. All of that, I was like, don't ask about it. It's not going to happen. You can get your tablet when you go up the road, and that's going to be it. Other than that, we're not talking about it because again, all you had to do was clean up your room. So this was almost 3 days ago now. And so now, instead of getting her tablet back yesterday, today when we got up the road, she won't get it back until Saturday. So I've got 2 more days of this telling her, no, you can't have this until you get out of my house because you lied to me so much about cleaning that you didn't even do it. And so it, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I don't want to give a disproportionate response to what has happened, but at the same time, I have to be realistic. If you Whatever you do, whatever your response is, it has to be proportional. So, like for example, some people have suggested, oh, I should take everything from her, or I should beat her or whatever the case may be. None of that stuff works because she's a Noga height. So you know how Noga height. Oh, if you don't know how Noga height children are, you could beat them until the cows come home. They're gonna come back in the next. Oh, I love you so much. This and that. I seen her do this to my sister, and I was like, nah, that doesn't work. The only thing she cares about right now is her dessert that she gets after dinner and her tablet, and that's what I took from her. Those two things is gone, and she had just got the tablet back and it's going to be gone again because it's not coming back into my house. So when it's gone, and that's one thing from a parenting perspective of being angry and not saying, you got to figure out how to have proportional responses to your so everything have to be proportional, like the whole I'm going to beat it out of you, or we're just going to you're going to have nothing but sitting in the dark and you're going to have to play nothing but board games. I mean, that's not proportionate for today. Like, there's a lot of people who grew up in a different time, and I understand that, especially like Gen Xers, where y'all remember how it was in the 80s and stuff like that. I don't remember the 80s, okay? I was young, I don't remember the 80s. I remember the 90s though. In the 90s, by that time everybody had cable. So if you lived in a house and you didn't have cable, you were already like disproportionate. You were already being punished because everyone else had something you didn't have. So if you tell your kids like, "Oh, well, I'm going to take away the tablet and the TV and your game system and this and that," that's like a lot. You have to, you know, she's 6. and she's always been like this. She just the problem is my 13-year-old, well, 14-year-old, she had a lot of toys, and so she hadn't gotten rid of any of them before my 6-year-old was born. So she inherited not only like toys that she got, but then all of my oldest daughter's toys. So she never actually had to clean her stuff out either. So now that my youngest is a boy, I'm like, he's not gonna need any of these girls' toys. We're just going to have to get rid of all of this stuff. It's just too much stuff, you know. But these, I mean, you know, when you have a Noga height, like they lie about everything. And so it's not on purpose, it's because they don't want to make you angry, because that whole making you angry is like the worst possible thing for them. They just don't want people to be angry. They want everyone to be happy. So they will say whatever it takes to make you happy. That's why I say she got a lot of her dad's bad qualities. He lied about everything. He lied all the time about everything. And she just does the same thing too, because it could be that he's a Noga height. I never looked at his birthday. I'm gonna check it, but I just know that her being this, Noga person, and on top of that, you don't want to go overboard so that they go to the bad side of Noga. You want them to stay on the good side and not go to the bad side. So it's kind of like, dang, this is really, really hard to be proportionate with your response to these people. And I don't think enough of our people are, I mean, there could be that, people don't have kids, or they don't know how to discuss these things, directly and frankly, but my whole thing is I've been dealing with young people my whole life, and so it's not it's just about getting in your mind what's proportionate. And then a lot of it is you don't have to make a response right away. So like with my situation with my road trip, I didn't decide right away how I was going to respond. The first thing I did was remove myself from the situation. And so that's sort of like going forward, that will be how I respond when I feel like that anger is like really building up. I'm just going to remove myself. And then once I remove myself, then I can assess if I'm capable of handling the situation appropriately, because in some cases you may think like with my daughter, I have been working on this with her for a while, so I was capable of handling the situation appropriately at this time. So I was able to say to her, look, don't ask me about no tablet, don't ask me about no dessert, you're not getting no special treatment until maybe when you get back, because I know when she's with my mom, she's gonna get all this specials. This is grandparents. You could just remove, like when you got grandparents in a situation, you can remove trying to do any reasonable discipline. It's just not gonna work. So, but when she's with me, yeah, it's going to be that we're going to take it. And that's why I'm like, the tablet's not coming back, because it was completely wrong for her to not clean the room after she told me for 4 whole days that she did. So I don't want that thing back in my house. Once it's gone, it's not coming back. And she's just going to have to watch regular TV. I don't care about her playing no games or nothing like that. I don't care. And I told her, look, you got plenty of other stuff to do. If all you can find on that tablet to do is play games, that's on you. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm not going to compromise on that note. And so that's how you have to be. But when it comes to divine partners, it's much harder, because you know that number one, you know that the angels picked this person for you. And so they have information that you don't have. And so you somehow have to, from a limited perspective, be able to make a decision about a particular situation, knowing that you actually don't even have all the data. You have to make it, you're making your decision blind. And so that's why for me the best thing was to, again, remove myself from the situation, pull one of our ancient fathers and give me something to drink, and try to just calm down, and know that, in my mind, I just don't want to sin. So I can respond however I'm going to respond, but I need to make sure I don't sin. So that was what was able to keep me from going off the deep end completely. And and also knowing that, what is lawful You go back and read Exodus 21 through 23, you know what's lawful, what a lawful response is. You know, it's lawful for an eye for an eye, it's lawful for a tooth, it's lawful for a life for a life. So if this person didn't literally kill you, or you don't think they're going to literally take your life, then it's unproportionate to say, okay, I'm going to take your life. But if this person is like, in my situation, say, look, I'm not going to share my plans with you. Okay, I'm going to make plans. I'm not going to talk about them. I'm just going to go and do what it is I want to do when the angels bring you back around. Because another thing that I do, being unfortunately that I have this divine partner, and I do say unfortunate because people think that their divine partners is going to be easy, and it's not. So for me, it's very unfortunate. So being that I'm in the unfortunate situation that I have my divine partner, what I do a lot of times is when I notice that they act a certain way, I just return it back to them. And when they stop acting that way, I pretend like they never acted that way. It's very, very difficult, but it is the only way that in your mind you can return an eye for an eye. Because again, if you treat them that way all the time, that's disproportionate. So if they only act crazy sometimes, you act crazy sometimes. Only when they're acting crazy. And when they're not acting crazy, you don't act crazy either. That's the hard part moving forward. Like, that's a really tough part to do because you have to constantly be ready to change your behavior. If you notice that they're acting crazy, you have to, even if you're in a good mood, you have to turn on that, oh, I'm gonna act crazy right with you. And then when you get out of their presence, you have to turn it off. It's like, this is why you, again, back to our conversation for yesterday, this is why you need to be able to control that electric fluid and that magnetic fluid, because that electric and magnetic fluid allows you to be bipolar. It's the only way you can be bipolar, with the electric in the middle and the magnetic on the outside. Otherwise you're going to be unipolar, which is easier from a, practical perspective to behave. But when you're dealing with divine partners and children, who you have to try basically be bipolar with, you really need that foundation of being able to be bipolar right with them, which sounds crazy. And the more I think about it, the crazier it sounds, but it's like the only way that you can be proportionate. Because again, when they, like it, with the example of the children, like when they're loving and all that towards you, you need to show them the love back. And when they act like they got a huge problem, you got to be able to do that too. It's very, very weird. And I don't, um if I had a better recommendation for how to deal with it, yeah, I would give it to you, but I don't really have a better recommendation. But we can manage it better, especially as the women, by shalom, by learning how to use that magnetic fluid and that electric fluid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read y'all the first two exercises um, on how to work with that magnetic and electric fluid. I didn't want to read it yesterday because it takes you a while to process what exactly that stuff meant. So I'm going to read the so this is on page 127 of Initiation into Hermetics by Franz Bardon, right? So it's only two paragraphs, and the magnetic fluid is two paragraphs too. And once you get these two methods down, then there's two other methods for deductive, but these are both the inductive method. So this is on page 127. Control of the electric fluid inductive method. This exercise can be performed sitting down or standing up, just as it is more convenient for the individual. It says, take up your usual asana, which basically meditate, and close your eyes and think of your body as being hollow. Furthermore, imagine you are in the center of a fiery ball that includes the whole universe. You have got to imagine the fire element red hot and bright, similar to the sun. So I would say like a big white ball. Okay. You will feel the warmth on the periphery of your own body automatically in this imagination because you already learned about this sensation in the chapter referring to projection, which he talks about something else, right? Doing this exercise, you should perceive the expansion of the fire element within your body. You have to imagine that the universal fire element presses the light into your hollow body when it's expanding. The more intense and fiery you imagine the universal fireball, the more light is pressed into your body through the pores of the skin from all directions, your whole body being loaded with light. You must perceive the pressure of the light inside your body, feeling it like a balloon swollen with light. The pressure of the light is supposed to go from the outside to the inside. At this moment, you will experience the sensation of an unusual fullness as if you are ready to burst. Go on breathing calmly while performing this exercise. That's very important. That's the hardest part. Because in this dynamic accumulation of light, you will be tempted to hold your breath, which you must avoid doing. As soon as you have produced so strong an accumulation of light, viz, like a light dynamite, that your body is bursting, you will feel at the same moment that your whole body, mainly your fingertips, has been loaded with a strong electric current. Impress this perception very firmly into your mind. This is actually the electric fluid I'm talking about. If you accomplish this accumulation, allow the universal fire to fade away slowly with the help of imagination until it's gone out completely. At the same time, you have to imagine that the accumulated light is diminishing too. The power of expansion gradually becoming weaker and weaker until everything inside and outside of yourself has turned pale and finally extinct. So you hear that the electric fluid is literally it's mental. It's a mental electric fluid. It's not a physical electric fluid. It's in your mind. And so like what I did, he said when you feel it in your fingertips, I pressed it back into my mind like it's to strengthen my actual brain to be able to handle this type of stuff. And when you do that exercise, like I say, I'm trying to do it every day so that I can build up that ability to go straight into the electric fluid being in my fingers. I want it to be fast. Not I got to sit for 5 or 10 minutes and get what this feeling feels like and all that. No, I want it to be fast. Because again, if you want to be able to use any of those use the spirit intelligence like the ones where you can grow the plant in an hour, that's an electric fluid. That's something you have to be it comes from your mind and you take that electric fluid and you put it into the plant. And so you have to be able to get in that feeling of having this electricity in your fingertips so that you can implant into that seed. And when you put it in the ground, it has all of that built into it that it can grow really fast. That's the whole process. That's we have to learn how to do that. So let me read y'all the one for the magnetic fluid. So this is on page 128. The performance for with this fluid is exactly the same. Sit in your sauna, imagining that you are hollow, but able to take in the magnetic fluid. Now close your eyes and imagine the whole universe being filled with water and you yourself at the center of it. You will automatically perceive the wetness and coolness of the periphery of your body, but do not give your full attention to this fact. Imagine how your body, like a dry sponge, is sucking up the magnetic power from the universal water element. This imagination exercise must be increased until you feel a dynamite in yourself, similar to a fully inflated tire, and you are quite certain that a higher accumulation is impossible. As soon as you have reached the peak of magnetic power accumulation, allow imagination to melt away gradually and magnetic power accumulate inside you to dissolve into infinity. If you are able to discriminate the difference between the electric and the magnetic fluids by means of frequent exercises, you will have the opportunity, just as with the electric fluid, to strengthen those faculties in yourself and dwell in the water and earth elements, such as mediumistic faculties, clear feeling, psychometry, thought reading, medical medial writing, and others. So again, that's on you. It's the same exercise as the first one, except with water. And the only thing I would say is it makes more sense to me to do the electric fluid during the day, like maybe like a midday meditation, when the sun is actually out, so that you have an easier way of identifying with that feeling, and then to do the water exercise at night when the moon is out, because you want to use the sun and the moon to strengthen these things. And I didn't think about that, because when I did the one, I tried to do it this morning and the sun wasn't out yet, and it was really, really difficult to get that heat feeling because I was literally cold. But the water feeling, it was not as hard. So you want to try and use these things to build up these faculties, because another thing that I notice is that I or I don't know a nice way to say this. One thing that I notice um is that I have a lot of control over what happens around me. And the strong I feel like the stronger I get at it, the more I can control whether these people, divine partners or children or whatever, react in a way that causes me to anger or not, meaning I feel like I could be in control of that if I can control this fluid, because they have fluid too, you know what I mean, and they're not controlling theirs. And so if they choose not to control theirs and you choose to control all that is around you, that means you can control how they respond to certain things. You can control how certain things go. So instead of having lots and lots of bad days, you can have more and more good days, because you bring yourself into control of the situation by control of the magnetic and the electric fluid. And then again, remember, when you can hold the electric fluid in the middle and the magnetic fluid on the outside, like a bipolar behavior, then you can do a lot with that, spiritually. But that also can come into the physical, because the physical is nothing but a, like you said, you're hollow on the inside, like it's everything, something is always being poured into you. And so if you choose not to control that, or you can't control it because you're a child, then that means I can pour into you what I want. Or in the case of divine partners, if they don't want to do what they need to do, you can pour something into them that they don't have no choice. And that's how, like, like they have the charged candles and stuff like that, where you can get one that says, do as I say, and all that kind of stuff. It seemed to me like that's how that works. They use that magnetic and that electric fluid to charge the candles, to put into it their intention that they want. And when you have that intention put in there and you combine it with a scent and a color, and that's another thing. This is going to be really funny. I started watching the live stream last night of on Black Magic 363 with Dr. B, and he said something and it was like, wow, I understand now a little bit. I got a little bit of a little something. So apparently the color for Santa Claus is the same color as Coca-Cola red. So Coca-Cola owns that image of Santa Claus. And so when you see that color, Coca-Cola red, it actually triggers you to have this feeling of joy, as if you're going to get free stuff from some fat white man. So if you think about that in relation to our core cleanse, that's why it had to be Coca-Cola, because maybe it was something in it, but it also is like that color triggers you to think of free stuff just being given to you by some entity that's outside of you. So it triggers that energy to like go into you, because and especially with the number and the color and all that, it just is a huge trigger. And so now I'm like, I wonder how much of the stuff that we do is literal and how much of it is just to trigger this subconscious mind that we don't have control over. Because even with the sense, like, um I did a video about this where I had, looked up the scents to find ones that, not the ones the masters gave us, which are the correct ones. I was looking for a way to repurpose scents that I already have, because I don't have money to go out and buy no perfumes right now. I just don't have it. So I was like, how can I use what I already have? And so I made this list based on one of the other books. And so I was like, okay, let me. see which one of these work and which ones don't. And so when you're looking at trying to figure out which scents go along, which ones don't, some of these descriptions are very vague, meaning they say one of the ingredients is gilly flowers, right? But what are gilly flowers? They're really like, and then there's gilly flowers and there's wallflowers. Then you have to look at the flower. Well, does that look like it will grow on a wall? Or like gilly flowers are white flowers. So does this perfume have white flowers in it? And so that's why I always say like go back and ask your angel because there may be, a way that you can use stuff that you already have access to. So what I found when I went through all the perfumes that I already had, I only the only day I couldn't find a perfume to wear some for was Shabbatai and for Lavana. And for Shabbatai, I would just wear the same one as I wear for Zedek because that's a king day, right? Solomon. And then for Lavana, that's an Eve day, I will wear the same one as I wear for my day, which is Kokav. Because technically on Lavana, you can take on whatever form you want for however long you want to take it. That's Lavana. It changes with what's going on. So okay, well if I want it to be like my day, then I'll just wear the one that I have that matches my day. And that's just like a little thing that you can do, but it's all about triggering that subconscious mind to run these certain routines. So again, we know how these things work, but we don't know why they work. And the more we understand why, the more the things will work for us, which is why I was talking about, using that magnetic fluid and that electric fluid as a catalyst to control or to influence the relationships around you. Because if you are the only one in your whole city. I mean, let me finish the sentence. If you're the only one in the whole city that knows how to control electric and magnetic fluids for righteousness, you're gonna have to be the one in charge, and you can be the one in charge because you have the knowledge of how it works, you have the knowledge of why it works, and then you also have the righteousness. So you will be the one that is left. And so that made me think when I was talking about it just now, it made me think of um what was it, Sodom and Gomorrah, where they said, "Show me one righteous person in the town, and I won't destroy it." And there wasn't even one righteous person. You mean to tell me there wasn't one person in that whole town who could not control the electric and the magnetic fluids with righteousness? I mean, I don't want to be. I don't want to. That's the type of thing if you don't want to leave that to somebody else, especially I'm not saying it's only women watching, but not most of my viewers are women. Especially as a woman, you want to be able to control that. You want to be if there's no man who's willing to do the work on controlling the electric and the magnetic fluid, you want to be able to do it. And then you have to do what many of our women have always had to do throughout history. Then you want to control the man and tell him what to do. If they won't elect you directly, okay, well, then you get with this man and you're like, look, this is what you're going to do. You don't have to tell them. You're controlling the magnetic and the electric fluid that flows even through and around them. That's what they do to us. How do you think this propaganda works? All they do is control the magnetic and the electric fluid that flows through us. They control it through media. And your consumption of their media and their music, again, synthetic instruments. That's why they got rid of real instruments in music. Their control over it allows you to forces you to do not forces you it removes your capability of controlling your own magnetic and electric fluid because they have it so sophisticated that as they control your magnetic and electric fluid they cut off your receptors with the food. So it's a multi-stage multi-pronged attack. And so the first step is understanding why they do what they do. You already know how they're doing it, but you don't know why. Why are they doing it? Well, the reason why they're doing it is because they're controlling that magnetic and that electric fluid. And now that you know why they're doing it and you know how they're doing it, they're using the media, then you can undo it, which is my whole point of even doing videos and putting them on the internet ley line. I know that I'm one small person with a small channel right now, 6 viewers total. Doesn't matter. Once a person who can control magnetic and electric fluid naturally, puts it into the internet ley line, somebody has to address it in order to try to go against it. And when they try and go against it, it's not going to work because they don't have the power or the righteousness that I'm operating under. All they have is, you know, all they have is propaganda. All they have is lies. And the truth is always going to outweigh the lies. So that's why I was like, I need to put how to do this into the ley line so that our people will wake up and say, wait, I remember having that feeling before too. Oh, that's what it's like. Oh, that's what that is. Yeah. So when you get that warm, fuzzy feeling, from listening to what's that song? Uh and I think to myself, what a wonderful world by Lou Rawls. When you get that warm, fuzzy feeling from when our people sing music, that's controlling the electric fluid. That's the electric fluid. Then they hit you with the magnetic fluid with the instruments. Boom. That's why all of our music was so powerful, because we could naturally, with our voices and with the composition of music that we did, control both the electric and the magnetic fluid. All they've tried to do is copy that. Or they would take and put their people's faces on our music and lots of stuff that they did. I mean, I started listening to the 60s music and I realized they would literally have a black person sing the song to put it into the ley line, and then they would have their people cover the song so that you like walk away Renee. You know what I mean? By the Four Tops. They also had another group called Misty Blue or something like that do that same song almost the same way, but it was their people. That's why they did that, because they used our people to encode it into the ley line, and then they could trigger it with their people singing the same song, because that's how powerful we are. And so they all but took all this information away from us, except for, now it's starting to come back, and it's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, you think about like all the like or look at it like Jill Scott, all these great songs, or um okay, here's another good one that a lot of people, this story nobody will know unless you're from DC. So they had that song, Pieces of Me. Avril Lavigne did it, right? And then Backyard Band did it. And the Backyard Band version is 1,000 times better than the Avril Lavigne version, right? So now when I hear the song, I don't think of the Avril Lavigne version at all. I think of the Backyard version. And this is what always happens with go-go music. Once you hear the go-go version of a song, you can't even listen to the regular song the same anymore. It doesn't even sound the same. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't have the same power, which is why they always try and put that particular genre of music down and make sure people from DC, like Wale, who's traveled around with UCB for a whole year touring, they don't want those kind of people to come up, because that go-go is a very powerful way of encoding messages into the ley lines, and our people, they don't use it right. You know what I mean? It just they don't understand how it works. They just know that it does. And so like go-go bands are all cover bands. They cover songs by other groups. So if you listen to go-go, you really can't listen to regular music. It doesn't sound right, because you're used to hearing the live person, you're used to hearing the live instruments. Then you have like, Congo players like Smoke, who's like prolific on the Congos. Like the beat, I mean, you can't, there's no way that they can't, they if Go-Go was somehow put on the main stage for the whole country, it will be the number one music in the country. You can't outdo that music, which is why they've done everything they can to keep it tamped down, so that it's just, oh, this little DC thing with these Negroes here in this little, chocolate city block. And when you try and to, bring it into other areas, it's like people don't get it, because they have been programmed with the music that is it has a different feel to it. So I would say some of the house music also falls into this category because, like in Baltimore, DC is Maryland is very weird because you got the DC and the Go Go, then you have the Baltimore. So like what K Swift did to music was like it's kind of like the same thing, but it used their music, but it was like the frequency that came off of it, the way that they use it is totally different. So that's why you have like house music that has the same kind of thing with it. You know what I mean? And so and they've also curtailed house music a lot. And that's why I don't really put down, like this new music that's out. I don't under the drill. I don't get it, but I do know that eh, they can't control it. It's again, it's can they control the music? How can they control how our people take it? All they can do is kill all, or make sure it comes out of Chicago. So basically, every big star that puts out music in this tone is essentially going to be murdered by their own people. And then you put out your own stars who are ridiculous, and somehow that is supposed to solve the problem. So, and that's what they do. They hype. And I was in the entertainment industry, especially with music, for a while, and we saw this happen a lot. They would take the sound of they would take the person and sign them to some label so that they would just go away, but then they would take the sound of that person and give it to someone else. So that I feel like they did that with Drake, because Drake's sound, if you listen to like the old Wale, it's kind of like that, or like just that whole like poetic style thing. That was definitely like a huge Wale thing. He was doing anyway. There's so much they steal from DC. You could never imagine all the stuff they have stolen from the music industry in DC, and it's for me it's enraging and infuriating. But the people there, they're also paid government agents, so you have this whole thing of the government is paying the bands to stay in the area, and then you have like the people wanting the music, but they're also going to stay in that area. So you have a lot of people who move to DC just for the music, and then they never leave. It's very, very difficult because you can't find go-go music outside of DC. And if you once you are on that ley line of that kind of music, people who go to the club every weekend, it's like a religious experience and not like a regular club, because you have the music and the dancing and the this and the that, and it's really like very similar to turning around going to church on Sunday morning. It's a very similar like feeling. And so you have a lot of people who go to the go-go, man. They have to. They old as ever. They still going to the go-go. You like, dang, you still going to the go-go, drinking and all the same because it's that thing where it's like the fire worship. Like you get so enumerated with worshiping the fire that you don't even realize that there's water out here, like that's just as powerful and has just as many good qualities and can do just as much damage as the fire, but you're just so infatuated with the fire. So you have to be able to balance. Like this is why you want to know the good and the bad. You want to know the electric and the magnetic. You have to be able to do both, because it's really, really easy with everything to just get stuck on one side or the other, which is why I think it's so important. Back to the title of this little message is that you want to be proportional. You want to respond with equal and opposite response. You want to be, you want to really work on being an even person. And like I said, that's always been a problem for me. I'm not an even person naturally. It's been very, very difficult, but I'm always trying to bring that into my experience, that calmness, which is not like me, but I've been working on it, just trying to bring it in and trying to be more um as fiery as I am to come bring that with the same calmness. And I feel like, especially for me, like doing the videos brings the calmness with the fire of the action. So I do the action, I have the activities of all of the prayers and all the stuff that I do, and then I bring it down with, okay, let me go and try to explain to somebody what this is that I experienced, what this is that I did, what this is that I'm working on. So it brings sort of a balance to to what's happening, because otherwise we're going to be completely off balance. This particular sphere is not designed. The Gentiles have made this sphere. Um, it's unsustainable to be at balance in this sphere. In this sphere, and so when you know that it's unsustainable to be at balance, then you have to be able to be bipolar in the sense that you have to be able to go from the magnetic to the electric and back and forth until you can until you get the response that you need, because again, like, if you just focusing on the electric fluid, which is the water fluid, where you just, I would say that's like the love fluid. If you just focusing on love only, then you're not going to really be able to get what you want. But if you just focus on the fire, the anger only, you're also not going to be able to get what you want. What you need to do in every situation is assess what is necessary. Is fire necessary, or is water necessary? This goes back to what the sister told me. You don't always have, sometimes it just takes an easy response. Sometimes you have to take a flamethrower, but you don't always have to take a flamethrower. You have to have, like I always say, many tools in the toolbox. The more tools you have in your toolbox, the better. Because if you only have fire in your toolbox, you're going to burn everything down. Well, you don't want to burn everything down. That's not going to solve your problem. But if you only have water in your toolbox, you're going to wash everything away. Well, you don't want to wash everything away. Some things you want to burn and some things you want to wash. Like it's just how it goes. And if you don't know the difference between burning something down and destroying it and washing something away so that it's gone forever, you're gonna have a problem. So you have to be able to sometimes add what I call like the fire of the water, which is steam. You want to add the pressure of steam sometimes, and sometimes you want to add like you want to bring in some of the earth, and maybe you want to do like lighting an incense. That's adding your electric fluid to the earth element, which incense, smoke. Sometimes you need smoke. Sometimes you can smoke stuff out. Sometimes you can steam stuff out. You have to just see what works in every. It's not always fire, and it's not always water. Sometimes it's all combination of both. Sometimes it's hot water. If you take the fire and you just heat the water up, that could solve the problem. Or if you take the water and you drizzle it over the fire so that the fire is still out, but it's just not as powerful, that may work too. So again, understanding how this works within yourself is how you can actually use that to expand your sphere of influence. Because another thing Dr. B said in that audio, I mean, I had just started listening to it, is about sometimes your sphere of influence is your geometric sphere of influence is small, and sometimes it's really big. It depends on you. And so what you want to be doing right now is you want to have a geometric influence that's big enough to cover your family, your city, whatever, so it doesn't have to be destroyed when everything starts going down in flames. And that's what happens. That seems like maybe what happened with the flood, because not the flood, the hurricane, because again, the Gentiles, they don't do any of this stuff. They only use fire, or they only use they're extreme. So maybe they had a lot of electric fluid flowing throughout their little area and there in Fort Myers, but they electric fluid can, I mean electric fire can be put out with water, especially that much water, especially that much targeted water. And so maybe the water targeted those places that were over inundated with electric fluid, with that electric fire. These proud, puffed up Gentiles. Okay, let's just take that because you leave your spiritual impression wherever you go. So if you have these people in your, if you have a whole neighborhood full of them, hey, that's a target. Oh, the water knows, oh, let's target this neighborhood. Boom, 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 boom. Same thing with the fires. The fires say, oh, we're not going to touch that house. They have a balanced thing going on there. That's how you can tell who a child of light is and who isn't. If you are as a child of light still refusing to engage in both sides, the fire and the water, you're setting yourself up as being labeled as a Gentile. And this is what I keep trying to tell like one of my friends. She's totally against, like, whenever I say you fight fire with a flamethrower, she's totally against that. She's like, no, that's negative. I'm like, no, you don't understand. If somebody is coming at you with fire, you have to at least fight fire with fire. I say use a flamethrower because it may look like fire to you, but you don't know whether it's fire or a flamethrower when a Gentile is throwing it at you. So you're gonna have to come a little bit harder than they come when you're dealing with the Gentile. So if somebody is launching a spiritual attack at you and you don't know whether it's fire, a small fire, or a big fire, or a flamethrower, you better go with what you think is proportionate, which in this situation with these Gentiles, for me, what I think is appropriate to deal with them is a flamethrower. So I'll give you an example of this. I might have already said this. I told somebody, um, I know somebody who has been identified as a targeted individual. And I suggested, well, I consecrated a candle for them, and I had told them, put this in your living area, and all those attacks should stop. And so what happened was, this person, I observed they were being attacked. I observed it, and I was like, "Whoa, this is really weird." Um, and so they burned the candle all the way down, like I said. And the next thing I knew, that where that attack had come from previously, the way the attack had come, they were dealing with that particular method of attack, coming back on a tow truck. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But see, I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know where it came from. I don't know. All I knew was I seen the attack with my own two eyes, and I was not going to allow that to happen. So we fought fire with a flamethrower. Maybe in retrospect, I'll go a little bit lighter first, but since I don't know, it's best to just look, let's just get rid of this thing forever and not have to deal with this anymore, period. Let's not do this thing where we got this thing, and I just don't want to go back and forth with these entities over, is this right, is that right? I don't want to go back and forth. Here's what it is: we're going to do this, we're going to light you up, and it's just going to be over. I don't want to deal with this stuff over and over again. So that's just how I chose to deal with it. But again, that's only because I had a good sense of the dark side and the light side. And I knew what the dark side was doing, so I could at least have an understanding of what a responsible response with light would be. And so we just burned the candle. It was just a candle. I just consecrated it. It wasn't no whole, again, like the Gentiles do, go totally overboard, and you gotta have this, you gotta have that, you gotta, it wasn't all of that. It was like, okay, look, I'm gonna write some stuff on this candle, and I'm going to activate it, and then once it's activated, you're just gonna burn the candle. Let's make it simple. Like I said yesterday, I'm always trying to make things as simple as possible. How can you convert people with everything that you do is hard? Everything that you do is complicated. Sometimes you just need a simple answer, which is, look, if you don't want to do all of that, that's fine. Just carry this charm. If you don't want to do all of that, that's fine. Just read Psalm 51. If you don't want to do 1,000 baths, okay, that's cool. Here's what you can do. And then as they become more into it, then they'll want to take the next steps and make it more harder. But you have when you're learning, it has to be stair steps. You can't try and start somebody at the top. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, and that's another thing, like with our people, like if you have children and especially if you have children who are water elements, like my oldest is a water element, but my other two are earth elements, fire earth elements too. They're both Capricorns. Oh Lord, my poor soul. Anyway, if you have children, and because you're afraid of the water, you never take them to the ocean or to the pool or to anything, what happens as they grow up? They never want to be around water either. And then you have another generation that doesn't want to be around water because they're not going to take their kids. So what I have done, As much as possible is all the stuff that I don't particularly care for, I still have my children do it. And if they don't like it too, that's fine. But at least they won't be like, oh, I didn't know, I don't like this, I don't that. So like my daughter, I was never in no kind of scouts or anything like that. I had her in Girl Scouts for 2 years. She did not like it at all. Not from the first minute. She just didn't like it. And then like the little Girl Scout things, they didn't fit her. So I had to actually get a seamstress to put a patch in on the side so the little vest could fit her because they didn't make them in a size that she could fit. I was just like, man, this is that should have been a sign. So and then like with my middle daughter, I took her to tumbling. I got her started really early and we did tumbling once a week. That was really good. My son, he likes being outside with the plants and stuff like that. So I try and take him outside as much as I can, take him to the park, let him run around, whatever, Inspector Gadget his way around. You know what I mean? So that's what you have to do. I haven't really gotten into the water stuff really heavy yet because that costs a little bit more money, but that's coming around the corner. They're going to be doing like swimming lessons because I don't know how to swim. I never learned how to swim. I always went to the pool though, but I just never learned how to swim. So I'm a Virgo, so Virgos are the water of the earth. So I like being around water. I like being in the sand, but like going and getting in the water and all that like type of stuff, I never really liked that. Or like I like cruises, but like to actually like get in a pool at the cruise, I'm probably not gonna do that. I might get in jacuzzi maybe if it's not too many hood rat looking people in there. Shout out to the Carnival Cruise Line riders. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, Father, Carnival is if you have to take somebody on a cruise for the first time, I recommend Carnival. I do not recommend MSC. That was a bad idea. Um, Anyway, so that was like a small tangent. I'm not gonna go too far off on that, hopefully. But yeah, so you want to introduce your kids to stuff. So this is why, again, back to the whole concept of having to retire. Like, if you have to do all this stuff when you're kids, you don't have time. Even if you just have to do it with yourself, maybe you don't have kids, anymore. If you just have to take yourself to all these places where you've never been, learn how to swim, learn how to climb mountains, learn how to do hiking and stuff like that. You don't have time to work. You have to learn if you have to learn how to use electric and magnetic fluid so that you can be able to when things start to hit the fan, you are able to take care of yourself. You don't have time. You just don't have time to be in the Gentile system. And so again, I think, this kind of like it's kind of like a full circle. Like you don't want to overreact. You want to react proportionally, and a proportional reaction to the fact that you just learned that electric fluid and magnetic fluid is something that you can control with inside your body. A proportional response to learning that is to say, I have to learn how to use it because it's been used without me knowing my whole life. They've been harvesting it from me. Again, back to my harvest versus harness lesson. They've been harvesting this energy from me for my whole life and letting me harness about 10% of my potential so that they could it's funny, they always said, we only use about 10% of our mind's capacity. And I always said, where did they get this 10% number from? That's what they let us use. Because the other 90% of our mental capacity, they harvest it and they steal it, basically is a better term. They steal it and they use it to power their system. So you need to take your mental dexterity back, use all 100% of what you have access to make your life the way that it is. So one thing I'm going to do is, especially while the sun is out, I'm going to go outside, get into the sun, and do the same experiment with the electric um uh fluid, and electrically bring to me um these things that I have been asking for, because I've been, like I said yesterday, I've been asking for a lot of stuff. I haven't seen any results. I've been back and forth with the angels, what's going on, this and that. So now I'm like, okay, this is the point that they had to get me to, where I could say, okay, so they've done all that they can do. Now I have to go and electrically and magnetically pull it to me. So I have to put a fire under the people who are holding up my request. And then once the moon comes up, then I need to electrically pull it to me. And so this is going to be something that I do moving forward until I get what I ask for. And I haven't stopped asking for stuff. I just ask for authorization and then I do what I'm going to do. And then next thing I know, I'm going to have to go out and do the work of getting into the sun, electrically firing up the individuals to do the work, which is a good time to do that during the day anyway, because that's when these government workers are at their desk. And then I'm going to magnetically at night pull it to me. And the stronger I get at that, I mean, they're going to wish they had just left me alone. Imagine if you could do that with all your requests. Imagine when you can utilize that for uh work, money, whatever it is you're trying to do. You can utilize it over relationships. You can utilize it, to co-create the destruction of the Gentiles with the Most High. Like, imagine when you can really wield that power. What is gonna what can they do? What are they gonna be able to do to you? Because when they come at you, that fire is gonna be inside you. You're gonna be able to, whoa, stop right there. And I do this sometimes. Whoa, freeze. Let's stop right there. And then, you have to do some fluids. You're like, okay, now you can come and bring to me whatever it is that's not going to be too aggressive. And once you're able to do that with just your fingertips, one finger, like point, and then that's you get the whole everything that you asked for. Man, what? Man, what? Can you imagine? That's what we have to do. The worst part is that, like I said, the Gentiles have been doing it. Not all of them. The ones who know this stuff, they've been doing this for a long time. This is written in plain language how to do it. I don't think the Gentiles can do it anymore. That's why all of their stuff is all over the place, because they no longer have control over any electric fluid, including their own, or any magnetic fluid, including their own. And so that means that it's open season, and if you don't learn how to use it, you're gonna lose it too. You're not gonna. I don't think there's an unlimited window for people to be able to control this type of stuff, because there has to be thought leaders at the top. There's everybody can't be in charge. And I think that right now we don't have anybody on our side that's really talking about this kind of stuff, like how to actually use it and how to actually use it to make your life easier within their system. Because their system can come down. I don't have a problem with that, but let it come down once I'm able to raise a plant in an hour. Let's just freeze frame here. I don't want it to happen so soon that I can't feed my family and stuff like that. And so if the Most High is waiting on us to be able to wield this power, hey, I want to be. I'm, like I said, to the top of the tree of life or to the bottom of the tree of death. I want to be the first one in line to learn whatever the Most High wants me to learn, so that I can preserve the nation, my family, community, whoever needs it. I will have the knowledge, even if I can't do it myself. I will be able to do it myself, even if I only do it once. I have the knowledge. I can tell somebody else, look, if you're hungry, here's what you do: go find you a seed. Boom, 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 do this exercise. And then I find out, okay, well, how do I create this ley line so that I can just shoot the energy to them through the ley line so they can put into the plant? Like, how do we do that kind of stuff? That's the kind of stuff that we have to really, we have to be forward thinking. And not that I don't think we're forward thinking, but we have to think even more forward. As more information gets put into the ley line about these spirit intelligences, we have to think even more forward on how we can make this work for us, starting with making the government pay us w- to do nothing. The government is going to pay me to retire. How do you do that? What's the thought process of that? What's the thought process of knowing that you have no value? What's the thought process of knowing that you have control over how long you live? What's the thought process for that? And once you're able to control the thought process, then that's the first step to be able to control the magnetic and the electric fluid. So that I have enough time to go out there and practice this thing, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Of course, if anybody needs information, shoot me an email. I try to get back to them. I'm trying not to be so drugged down into this stuff, and I feel like this whole magnetic and electric fluid has been like a huge missing piece for me, which is why I decided that it needed to be put into the ley line and coded in. So hopefully more of the brothers and the sisters will start to at least look into it and figure out how you can make it work for you. Again, I don't tell anybody to do what I'm doing. All I know for a fact is that the Most High gave me faculties that I need to use, and I don't want to be one of those people, one of those ungrateful people who refuses to use the faculties that the Most High gave me because somebody else said it was witchcraft, or somebody else said it was this, or somebody else said it was that. Because everything that I'm not supposed to endure, the Most High does not bring to me. Everything that I do have to deal with, the Most High brings directly to my step. No matter what I try, he'll bring it right here. I'll run. It'll still be right there. Just like Jonah and the whale. He tried to run from Nineveh. The Most High brought him right back to Nineveh. He had no choice. He took him and put him in a whale until he got his brain together, and then right back to Nineveh. Whatever the Most High wants you to do, He will make you do. And He will keep putting it in your face until you do it. So you can fight it, or you can figure out what it is that you need to learn from that. And so a lot of this stuff I feel like was just to get me to this point, which is fine. I whatever it is, I don't have no problem with that. So, to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace. And always remember, the Most High is your peace. Shalom, everyone.